Right, another little 5-minute job is replacement little quarter panel things here. These are perished, the rubber's coming off, so cheap eBay replacements. That more of that fell off as I was getting it off. They've given us fresh poppy things, some little rubber grommets, not quite sure what they're for yet. And these are quite well wrapped. I'll give them that. They're quite well wrapped, but they're not. They're all plastic. Let's get rid of that. And they don't have this. Is rubber on the original, but it's just collapsed and fallen apart. So these are all plastic. So okay, these grommety things slot in somewhere. Yeah, so they're perhaps not going to fit quite as well, but they're going to last longer. Probably last longer than the car. So I've just got to transfer some of these new poppy things over and bang them on and see how they look. I don't think they're. Oh, they are. Look, they are handed as well. Look, left and right. So I pulled the wrong one out. That should be the left one there then. Right, let's get one on and see how it looks. Right, so it's, we've got a bit of a chicken and egg situation here, because if I leave that bit of rubbing strip on, this just won't go past it. This has to sort of slot in like that and then pop in, I think. So with the rubbing strip on, you can't get this little tab past it to pop in. When you take the rubbing strip off, if you stick that on there, and it'll go in nice and easy, look, plenty of room, but then you can't get this rubbing strip back on. I thought maybe this would slide out, like out towards the door, and it would be open at this end, but it's not. It's an up or down to put on, not a slide on from one end. And with this in place, that won't pop back on again. I'm sure there's a knack to it, and I'm sure people who know just pop these on and off no problem. But whatever the knack is, I don't know. So I mean, it will go on eventually one way or another, I suppose, but I'm not quite sure what order it's supposed to go on in. Anyway, we'll just crack on. Right, there you go. It turns out it was that on first, and then this kind of pops in. With this fully in place and pushed in, there is actually a little bit of a gap just behind here where you can kind of lever this in place. So yeah, it wasn't too hard actually. Right, I mean, if you didn't know that this was supposed to be rubber, you'd think none the wiser. That's much better. That's the original one. What have I done with them? There. I mean, that or that. Which would you rather have? A knackered original or a cheap eBay replacement that's in better nick? Yeah, I can live with that. That looks plenty good enough. Right, I'll do the other side now. That'll only take 2 minutes. Now I know what order it goes on in. Right, we've gone down to, I think we went to 5,000 grit. I had some 5,000 grit paper. Now I'm just finishing off with a polisher, just gently because I don't want to burn through anything. And we'll see if this has made these seals look any better. Hopefully it'll make a bit of difference. I don't want to go too mad because I don't want to burn through anything. And I'll finish up. I've got some lighter pads and some finishing compound as well, so we'll see how this looks. Yeah, that's probably enough of that. So I'll put that down, get a nice clean microfiber towel, give it a rub over. Now we're looking, okay, there's some scratches still there a little bit. Does that make any difference from a distance? think I need some finishing compound on it. Maybe this needs a little bit more. Maybe I've not, maybe there's more of them. Maybe there's more clear coat one here than I thought, actually. I thought I was going to need to be really delicate with these. But the scratches are still quite visible, which means there's still plenty of clear coat there, which means I can give them a bit more polish. So even that 1200 grit didn't take these off. So these are deeper than they look, actually, these little scratches. So it looks like I can do a bit more polishing. Okay, we'll crack on and see if we can get it any better. Right, so while this panel is drying, I'm going to attack this because it's on a corner. It's at a little angle. So what I'm going to try and do is really carefully get a very thin file with a flat front. Smallest one I can find with a flat front. Yeah, probably that one. And very gently file the rust off of that, and then primer, colour and clear coat all with a brush, which I would prefer not to do with a brush, but I don't have anything precise enough to spray this, so this is as good as it's going to get. I'm going to need two hands. I'm not going to film this, I'm just because I need two hands, so I'm just going to crack on and get on with it and see how it turns out. Right, there we go. So using this tiny little file, using this edge of the file, I've just gone into there like that and really gently taken the rust back. Maybe got a tiny little bit to do in this top corner, but that's more or less rust free. Tiny little bit to do, and then a dab of primer, and hopefully not get too big a blob on there. Just really want to cover that. It's really tricky to do on such a small area. This is an airbrush job really, but I've got to use what I've got. Right, a little dab of primer has gone on, and that's trying to do it with this brush was a nightmare. Although this is only a tiny little brush as part of this kit, it's huge compared to the area that I wanted to paint. So I've been trying to do it with that odd bristle. If you look, if I can get it into focus, there's one odd bristle that just sticks out. That's what I've been trying to use, to just put a blob of paint onto that and move it around just to cover the bare metal. So it's you can see brush marks in it where I've squished it around. So I don't think this is going to blend particularly well with the rest of the paint, but I can't really sand that because it will just sand it out, I think, because it's such a small area. I don't know, maybe a tiny little bit of 5000 maybe I'll give that a try. Is it really worth bothering on a bit of damage that's probably not even a centimetre across, all in all? Well, we'll see. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to have a cup of tea because it's freezing, and then I'll decide. Right, first little dab of the blue has gone on. Hasn't quite covered the primer, but that's okay. I'll give it another dab in 20 minutes or so once this is dried, and then I'm in two minds as to what to do with the clear coat, whether to use some and put some on with a brush, or just mask off the whole of the bumper and the headlight and sort of flick it in, spray onto some newspaper down here with a can, and just sort of flick it into here and see if I can get coverage on it that way. But then I've got all this to worry about here. What I don't want to do, although you can't really see this, I don't want to spray over this and spray that in. I don't know if clear coat will cover that with an aerosol. I might need to sand that back a bit more. Actually, I suspect I will. Well, that's something to worry about once this is dry anyway. I'm not going to worry about it just yet. Right, well, the spray job earlier on didn't go to plan. When I went to polish it, for whatever reason, the paint and the clear coat didn't take very well. So I've had to bring the car inside. It's now about 6 o'clock on November the 29th. It is only like a couple of degrees outside, so I can see my breath in this garage. So this is really not ideal conditions for spraying at all. So I've had to rely on the heat gun. So what I've done now is I've sprayed over a wider area. Before I just kind of concentrated on where the damage was. But because I had to flatten all this back to start again, I had to flatten back over a wider area. So what I've tried to do now is use this like natural curve of the panel to sort of flick the paint around. And if I've done it right, which it looks like I've not done too bad a job there from what I've masked up, I've managed to feather the new paint into the old paint and done the same with the clear coat. So for this tiny little scratch that was here, I've had to sort of feather it all the way out to there. But hopefully that's worked. This is going to sit overnight. So let the clear coat harden. I've already given it sort of 5 minutes, just a low heat, just kind of wafting warm air at it to help it start off. And now I'm going to leave it, and tomorrow we'll come back and we'll give it a bit of a polish and we'll see how it looks. Right, well, so it's next morning. Got up early this morning, started polishing the paint up that I did yesterday, and the paint just started coming off. So even overnight in the garage, I think it was just too cold. It's been an absolute nightmare. For a tiny little scrape, I probably should have just left it. Anyway, we're back out in the driveway today. There's a little bit of sun, and it's actually, I wouldn't say warm, but it's better than the 2 or 3 degrees that it was last night. So we're trying again, because I've had to rub this back and respray it, and then rub it back again and respray it. So the finish is going to be terrible. This is really not going to look very good at all. But it's just we're gonna have to live with it. On the plus side, I've got the dual action out, and I'm doing a bit of polishing on one bit that's actually clean and ready to be polished, and it's not coming out bad really. I've got to go over it again with some detailing polish just to get swirl marks out that the dual action has caused, a little bit of haloing and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's this tiny little corner is almost ready now, and it's actually got a reasonable shine on it. There you go, look. You can see my finger there quite clearly. So yeah, it's a nice colour, and I think it will more or less come out not too bad by and large, as long as you don't look too closely. So I'm doing the bits that I can do whilst I'm waiting for this to cure and then put some more clear coat on. But yeah, I've wasted probably 5-6 hours on this, doing it and redoing it and redoing it. Probably should have just left that scar as it was, but yeah, anyway, I'll crack on with making myself useful and doing this door. Well, we're doing the door now. There's the mirror. And that last bit of clear coat is still curing for about the 4th time. That's just getting depressing now, that corner. Anyway, got the dual action out. That bit's done. Getting on to this bit. So there is some progress. There is some progress, although that corner's not going to be it. But these panels are coming up not too bad. The deeper scratches are barely visible, and the swirl marks and other little bits and pieces have pretty much come out. So it's looking all right. It's looking all right. That's quite a nice finish on that. It needs some. Yeah, it's like a mirror. That bit needs some finishing compound on it just to bring it up, but that's looking pretty good already. Right, early morning, about 8 o'clock or about past, possibly the last dry sunny day that's guaranteed between now and when this guy wants the car. So because it's going to be dry and there's no moisture knocking around, today we are changing the brake fluid. So we've got fresh fluid in there. We've got the tyre is pushing air up through this tube into this reservoir where we've got fresh brake fluid, which in turn is pushing fluid down through here into there, which is pushing brake fluid all the way through the system to here. And what's draining out is manky looking old fluid. Although it really actually doesn't look too bad. We've had a fair bit out. Hopefully that's enough to have gone all the way through the system and forced everything that's out in this drum. So I'm going to put this under and see what we've got, and that's pretty decent looking clean fluid. I'm just using an old manky thing because it's brake fluid and you're not going to save it. It's just going to get booted down the drain or chucked somewhere, putting down the tip. So I'm calling that done now for this side, and now it's tap this back round to lock it off, put the cap back on and go around the other side, and repeat for all 4 wheels. Right, so we just tap that bleed nipple round with a hammer just ever so lightly, just until that stops dripping, and we're going to call this side done. Right, ring spanner off, plastic tube off, bleed nipple back on, or bleed nipple cover I should say back on over the bleed nipple. Nothing dripping. Okay, one side done. Alright, here's the off side now. It started coming out of dirty sort of greeny colour. That's contaminants and moisture and stuff that's got in over the years, and what's coming out now is a nice fresh clear colour, because that's fresh fluid that's pushed all the way through from the reservoir and is being forced out this rear drum. So back into the car is pretty well bled now. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, it's good to get out. Right, okay, and these aren't cracking off too badly, these bleed nipples. These are a nightmare sometimes, but we're doing okay. So yeah, two out of 4, which is promising. There we go. Driver's side now, coming out quite nicely, getting that bleed nipple cracked off nice and easy. Again, where it's kind of like a greeny colour. That's just moisture that's got in over the years that's changed the colour of it. So it's yeah, it did need doing. It didn't look too bad in the reservoir, but it was in need of getting done. And it's because we're that much closer to the reservoir now, so this is bleeding through much quicker, so we're already getting nice clear fluid compared to the green that came out initially. So that's bled through nicely. Let's get that into focus. There we go. Yeah, nice and clear, no bubbles. So we're doing well. That's done already, that one, and then one more to go, and that is the brake fluid completely bled through and nice and fresh. Right, that's that bleed screw done up. And before we put this wheel on again, although we are going to take them off again anyway in a little bit, try and have another dig at the wheels, we're just going to have a look at those brake pads. They didn't come up as an advisory on the MOT, so I'm not expecting there to be an issue. Oh, there's plenty on that side. Can I see down in that corner? No, I can't see so well on that side. No, can't see down that side. But yeah, they weren't listed as an advisory, and certainly as far as I can see on this side, there's plenty of bite left on that brake pad. Just in here, that's all of that there, that's about 10 mil. So you know what, those pads aren't even that old, I don't think. Okay, that's a good sign. I'm going to assume that the other side is going to be much the same. It'd be unusual for them to wear that unevenly, unless there was if there was, you'd feel it when you were braking if there was that kind of unevenness on one side to the other. And it's braking fine. So right, okay, that's done. Let's go on to the other side and check that out. Line it off and have a look at these tie rods. I mean, everything looks pretty good, really. Again, I'm not too concerned because it's passed an MOT without any advisories being mentioned, although they didn't mention the damaged handbrake brackets and underneath, which I thought they would have done, but yeah, I don't think they've been lax. Maybe they just didn't consider that was important enough to mention, which in a way it isn't. So right, this will back on another side, and that'll be 4 out of 4 brakes all done. Right, passenger side front. The front nearest the reservoir, so it's the last one you do. Tyre connected up there. Plenty of fluid in there. That's connected. That's been slackened off, so we'll just give that one little twist. And there we go. There it comes. And yeah, it's got a nasty green colour to it, which is moisture and contamination. It's built up over the years. This is coming through quite clean already because it's so close to the reservoir. It's literally just there. And this is going to take too much. Yeah. So the reason you want to keep your brake fluid nice and fresh is because, and the reason I've had to wait till a nice sunny clear day with no moisture in the air is because brake fluid absorbs moisture. So over years, moisture from the air that's just naturally present in the atmosphere seeps in and reduces the effectiveness of the brakes potentially, because air has water in it, and what you don't want is too much of that, because the water will boil under as it gets hot, whereas brake fluid doesn't. And if water boils, it becomes obviously bubbles, which means when you hit the brakes, you're just squeezing the bubbles, you're not squeezing the fluid, so you get no brake pressure applied to the brakes itself, because the pressure that you're applying through the brakes gets absorbed by the bubbles that have been created by the moisture in the fluid. So it's good to keep your fluid nice and fresh. Now that's looking good now. That's nice and clear, and the greenness, the gooiness is being diluted down and it's getting cleaner. So I think we can call this a day. That pad looks pretty good as well. Not in any danger of running out there. Oh yeah, we're about done. We're about done. Okay, so that's 4 brakes, freshly bled with nice fresh fluid in the reservoir. And it wasn't even that much of a pain in the arse. Right, that's a job well done. Right, well, we're all done. That's nice, fresh, clean fluid in there, right up to the maximum. So this is just some leftover that was in the reservoir. That is the colour of brand new, clean brake fluid. That is what I've bled out. So that really did need to be done. So yes, quite pleased with that. Job done, and now with that wheel off I can start on the cleaning and see if I can get that a little bit better, because that's really grim in there. No, I don't know, we'll just have to see how good I can get these to come out. But I've got nice sunshine today until about 4 o'clock when the sun goes down, so this is the last day probably to do anything on the exterior. So I'm just going to get on. Yeah, it's nice clean brake fluid all round, so that's a good job. Right, while we've got the weather on our side, we're going to try and do something about the inside of these front wheels. They're pretty grim, and the a lot of that stuff I just couldn't get it off last time, and the spray thing on that's not working, which doesn't help. So we're going to attack it from the inside. Got some all-purpose cleaner there and a sponge and a drill bit with a brush on it, and we'll just go around and see what we can do. All right, we've gone around that inside and out with the drill there with the I had the toilet brush on it. We've given it a good wash. We've done about as good a job as we can do with the time and equipment that we've got. So these marks here aren't going to come out. That's I think that's got under the lacquer, but I think they're looking better. Just wait for the pressure to build up. There we go. Yeah, that's as good as that's going to get, unfortunately. These marks just aren't going to come out, I don't think. Maybe give them a once more. Let's turn it around and see what the inside of the barrel's like. That's not come out too bad. Again, it's some of these marks they're just too far ingrained into the wheel, but it's looking a bit better. Well, that's that wheel cleaned as best as I can with what I've got and stuck back on. There's still some fallout remover on them. I've got a winch squat one as well. So yeah, they've not come out perfect, but I think some of these are too far gone to get off with the time I've got available. They're basically about the same standard as the rears now, which I'm not going to take off and do because they're okay really. Good clean, just sorted those out. Just got to put the caps back on from where I took them off to bleed the brakes. So the fronts and rears now are in about the same sort of standard. So the 90% of that caked on brake dust that was inside these spokes has gone. So you can stand, I mean, you can stand 3 feet away and they look pretty good. So that's going to have to do. Yeah, it's that's passable. That's a passable job. Okay, now that those wheels are all cleaned as they're going to be and put back on and up to the correct pressure, it's time now for a third attempt at finishing off this front wing, and this is the last attempt because I've got too much else to do still and only a couple of days to do it. So however this turns out is how it's going to turn out, and that's going to be the end of it. So we've got various grits of wet and dry there, bucket of water, and my drill bit and polisher waiting to go. So we're just going to sand this gently through the grains and then polish it up, and how it ends up is how it ends up, I'm afraid. Should have just left it first time, to be honest, when it was at like 80% pretty good, but I thought I'll just try and get 90% and shouldn't have bothered. Anyway, we'll just crack on and see how we do. Right, we're at 3,000 grit so far. Got some 5,000 in there to finish off. Doesn't look like we burned anything so far. Keeping it nice and wet. Doing a little bit up here on this wing as well, just to make the polishing easier because there are some quite heavy scratches on here. So we'll do a bit of wet sand in there. Time will tell. Time will tell. I can already see there's a little dimple there. Maybe should have needed a spot of fill in there, but I mean overall this is going to be less visible than the sort of scrape that went from there all the way down to there with this corner here actually actively rusting. That's covered at least anyway. So I think again you could be able to walk past this from 4 or 5 feet away and it would look okay, which is good enough for the age and type of car that it is. Right, we're at 5,000 grit now. and this is starting to feel and sounds like it's smooth. So with a bit of luck, a little bit of rotary polishing now and some compound. Once this is dried, we'll bring this up to an alright standard with a bit of luck. So we're third time lucky. Hopefully this will be end up as a passable job. Okay, that's had half an hour or so to dry off. It's looking just about passable. That's a bit cloudy there because I've sanded it, sand some of those scratches out. So dual brush now, some polishing compounds, and we'll moment of truth time. How's it going to come out? Right, some dual brush and some Maguire's compound, and that's blue because it's picked up some bits of overspray and just and polished those off, and we're going to call that done from 3 or 4 feet away. That's a good enough job. There's a little bit, it's a little bit orange peely. If you look really close, there's some kind of minor orange peel. It needs a finish. But I mean, in this light anyway, we're in shadow, so the sun's down off the drive already. It's only about, what time is it? Not even 1 o'clock, and the sun's already on the way down. It's November's not the time to be doing this. But we've got rid of some scratches here. The further down needs to be done still, but these are much reduced. You can still see them a little bit, but we're getting there. And again, I don't think they'll come out 100%. Actual fact, there's a little bit of orange peel on the front wing, which I'm guessing is that's factory paint. I'm guessing that's never been resprayed. There's a little bit of orange peel anyway, even on the factory paintwork. So I think although it took a few goes, for a rattle can on the driveway job, that's passable, isn't it? Yeah, we're going to call that good enough. Right, okay, good. That's that done. Cross it off the list then now, and move on to polishing the rest of the car. Okay, thank God that's finished. Right, I've turned the car around now to get us get the other side in some better light. So with a little polish, yeah, I mean that's good enough, isn't it? That's good enough. So we're going to concentrate on this bit now. This side, the scratches have been sanded as best as I can, and it's had a little go over with the rotary polisher. Down there's been sprayed, and that's never going to be perfect because it's not an even surface, but the bulk of that scrape is covered, even though the panel itself is still a bit dented. Oh, birds are being noisy. So they're going to have a little attack on this side now, and another polish, and see what we can do with it. Right, I might as well make the most of the sun and get on with it. Okay, so I've just finished off the second pass with the cutting compound and the heavy pad, and honestly, that's looking pretty good, isn't it? You could leave that there. If you can see fingerprints on it, then you know that it's clean. The damage is mostly reduced, if not gone altogether. You could walk past this and not see any scratches. So I'm quite pleased with it really overall. This here was just too deep to come out completely, and the colour hasn't quite matched 100%. So that's not quite come out. But this scratch went all the way from here. Try and get it in focus. Went all the way down here, across here, onto this door, and it was kind of in and out on this door, and made its way back to here. And where am I now? I'm less than a foot away, and I can't see where it was. Oh, here. Can you see it? There. Okay, just see bits and pieces of it in the light. Or is that the reflection? No, that's the reflection off the door handle. So it's actually maybe good enough that it's not showing up on the camera, but I can just see it here, the bit there and a bit there. Bit there. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you can see that. I can't get it focused there. That's not come out. That's as good as I've been able to get that bit. But yeah, you've got to be close. You've got to be within a foot to see the damage. So I'm not going to complain about that. And the scrape that was here, that was a continuation of this pretty much all the way along. And that has actually come out 100%. So from what it was on this side, the only bit that's left really is this, and even this isn't too bad now. You could walk past it and not see it. So I'm not going to complain. Starting to get a bit damp now, a little bit of damp in the air where it's getting quite chilly, so I'm going to knock it on the head for polishing. I still need to do the front bumper, and I've seen this now. I didn't know this was here until I cleaned it. That's annoying. That bit will polish out, but this won't. So yeah, not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. I might just rub a little bit of paint onto that, to be perfectly honest, and cheat that a little bit. Headlights are polished up okay. Yeah, so I'm putting it away and going home now. On the rear bumper and roof, and then some finishing polish and a light pad. So I reckon I'm probably down to, on the interior, blacking the tyres, blacking the plastics. I reckon I'm down to about the last 5 or 6 hours worth of work now, so I think we're doing okay. Just finding a decent day to do the rest of it. And yeah, December now. So fingers crossed I'll get a decent day and 5-6 hours, and that should be it.